This is Josiah Plays Tyranny. We're talking to Barrack here in the Scarlet Chorus camp. We're going through all of his dialogues, and we're going to find out what else he has to say. Tell me about the disfavored. We are the Iron Legion, the warrior elite of Kairos' fighting force. I could easily lose count of the hours extolling our glories. What is it you'd like to know? Man, he could lose count of the hours extolling their glories. That's a lot of glories. That's a lot of extolling. Extoller's gonna extol. I don't know why I almost said extoller's gonna explode, because that would be weird. There's my symbol. Have you fought in any notable battles? I served in Stalwart for the better part of a year. Faced the enemy everywhere from Coral Run to Sentinel Stand. I lost count of the battles. Seems like we fought every other day. A sigh echoes in the cavern of his helm. Really? All those battles? And your skills are not really that high, buddy. Probably watching Dishonored 2 streams in the background? Yeah, totes. I have 4 monitors. One with my game on it. One with my stream and OBS and all that on it. One with a Dishonored 2 stream that I'm watching, and one with The Witcher 3 running in the background so that I can alt-tab to it and just cast Quen a bunch of times when I feel like it. That's what's going on here. Some of our best victories took place there, fighting an enemy worthy of our iron. But we were not successful enough to please the Overlord, and the final intervention was harsh on us all. Barrack takes in a deep breath, his arms folding as his posture stiffens. So he's a little bit unhappy about it. I had an unusual view of the Edict of Storms. Kairos' judgment left its mark on me. Yet considering how we fought at Stalwart with the skill and honor of legend, only the Edict is remembered. A shame. What can you tell me of your time? What accent was I just doing there? What can you tell me of your time in the Legion? I joined the Legion 3 years before the conquest of the Tiers began. Though handy with a few weapons, my size made me the perfect addition to a phalanx. Well, the whole doing Quen in Witcher 3 in the background thing has been a running joke. I didn't come up with that. I think it was Noxmoo that came up with it or somebody. And I've said it a whole bunch of times, so I don't know if you could have possibly missed it, but that's not a new joke. That's a running joke. Perfect addition to a phalanx, huh? I've served with the stone shields ever since. Proud to say I've stood front row, right corner in over a dozen battles. That has been my place ever since the Iron Marshal gave me the assignment. The Bastard City, the Gates of Judgment, Vendrian Pass, Ocon's Ring, a quick tour in Barris and Chains, and then Stalwart. I spent a long time in Stalwart. Lost a lot of friends there. You were the one that came up with it, Anonymous? Oh, okay. I couldn't remember who came up with it. Well, you know, you fucking regulars. Because I'm such a big-time streamer with so many followers and so many concurrent viewers every time I stream, and the chat just going by so fast with people talking that I can't even really keep up with it all. Because of that, each of my individual viewers is really just nothing but a fungible concept to me. You're just assets that I think about in an impersonal, dehumanizing way. Now that's not true at all. You know that's not true. I know you guys. I remember most of the details you tell me about yourselves. I know that Anonymous is Russian, and I know that Saito is Canadian. See? I know shit about y'all. I know shit. Just one faceless gray mass for me. Yeah. Well, it's just impossible to keep track of people when you have this many followers. When you're this big of a celebrity like I am. You know what I mean? You can't blame me, really. You can't blame me. So many regulars just constantly here. So many people every time I stream. It's ridiculous. How do any of you even get a word in edgewise? In the torrent of chat going on in my chat. Alright. He lost a lot of friends there. What of the other disfavored lieutenants? They are Graven Ash's most trusted officers and warriors from the Iron Guard. Between Ash's arcane powers of command and his cadre of gifted leaders, there is little confusion or chaos in the ranks. I get to ask about specific officers. Tell me of the one they call Iron Marshal. She takes it upon herself to train and harden our greener recruits. Not only that, she has a keen eye for talent and how to foster it for leadership. She is the youngest member of the Iron Guard. Her family line served the disfavored back before Ash bowed to Kairos. Say what you will of how many seasons she's weathered. Her lineage is impressive beyond measure. Oh, lineage. They started making this game before they started on the White March DLCs for PoE. I think so, because I think they said they were only like halfway done with Pillars when they started making this game. Or I don't remember if they said like halfway done or if they said like a year. Like a year before they finished Pillars, they started on this. Something like that. What of Cairn's disciple, Radix? An Earthshaker who swore service to Cairn a few years before the Conquest. Since Cairn is gone, the cult now follows Radix. Unlike his Archon, at least he knows how to follow orders. If not, it's kind of weird to name two major regions in two games. I noticed that too, with Stalwart and Stalwart. I think it's because they hadn't decided on the name for this town in the DLC yet when they named this. Then again, it was two different teams that made the game, but it's not like they wouldn't have communicated with each other. I don't know. It is weird that they named it both Stalwart. To his credit, Radix seems to appreciate the honor of fighting alongside the defavored. Cairn was always peeved to be invited in the glory. Cairn is presumed dead. There was an edict issued against him specifically, because he was an Archon that rebelled against Kairos during that. So this doesn't even mention that, but in the other things that we read, it said he basically tried to take over and do his own thing during the Conquest, and so that's why the Edict of Stone was issued on the Azure area. It wasn't to subjugate the Azure area, it was specifically to kill Cairn. And so allegedly now he's like trapped inside the rock that's all been formed by that edict or something. So either he's dead or he's like imprisoned in a thing of rock or something. We don't know exactly for sure, but he's presumed dead. You always call it an homage and get away with it? Yeah, I guess you could. The mages seem a necessary complication. They are insubordinate and can't lug their own supplies. But I would not want to go to war without their spells of tremor and leaping stones. My theory is that he's really not dead, though, and that somehow through the course of the game we're going to free him, or find him, or wake him up or something. That's my theory. What of the Scoutmaster, Merrick? Merrick is a devoted leader, and Ash seems to hold his counsel in high regard. Both set their troops ahead of themselves, which is, I'm sure, is why they work so well together. He's no magician, but he does share a special connection to his warband, and they are entrusted with the most important scouting assignments. They say he can see what his scouts see, hear what they hear. Alright, that's starting to sound kind of Voices of Nerat-like. What of the veteran warrior Varamas? How do I know about these people? He is the finest of us, second only to Ash. Varamas is an evocatus. Oh, we're learning new terms here. A soldier who lived to see the end of his term of service. It's rare for anyone to survive that long, much less willingly return. These days, he lends his tactical expertise to Graven Ash, though by all rights he should be enjoying his twilight years in a seat of honor and dignity. Okay, so the retired veteran. Back to my questions about the disfavored. Go on, I'm listening. What more can you tell me of the Legion? The disfavored accept only the finest warriors. We are all volunteers and soldiers by trade, not farmers and fishmongers pressed into service. Subtle jab at the chorus. There is a century of tradition, honor, and tactical mastery in our ranks. We don't let just anyone into the Legion. Only Northmen of character and prowess are welcome. That's cool. I like racism too. Only Northmen. What if a capable Tearsman wished to join? We would not recruit even a champion of the Tearsmen. Each soldier in the Legion is tied by blood and fealty to those that stood with Graven Ash during the coming of Kairos. That is part of who we are, and that will never change. I kind of want to ask that other question. What about me? What if I wished to join? A charming sentiment, good Fatebinder, but no. You are sworn to another Archon. Your loyalty would be suspect. I see, so you cannot join the disfavored. That answers that question. Could be his own fault. Every time someone asked his name, he would say humongous. I see what you did there. The Vikings believed that those who died in bed would be sent to hell, so old warriors would pay others to stab them with a spear to guaranteeing them going to Valhalla. That seems reasonable. I would pay somebody to stab me with a spear, but you would be surprised how difficult it is to find someone who's willing to kill you. I have tried in the past. Everyone would say, flippantly, oh sure, I'd fucking kill you if you paid me, but they wouldn't really do it, because, you know, they're afraid of things like going to prison and all that. Or they have, you know, morals or whatever. So, why is the Legion called the Disfavored? It is a name born in shame, now worn in honor. After Graven Ash stood against Kairos, he was forced to give up much. His allegiance, his pride, and the name of his vaunted army. What was the Legion originally called? The name has been forgotten by all save Ash and Kairos, and it is considered bad form to bring up the topic. Since you didn't know any better, I'll say this much. Disfavored is the only name by which one needs to know us. Alright, everybody gotta change names and be like, I ain't got the old name anymore. This is like just like Verse with her free name. She has cast off the shackles of her free name. Let's speak of something else. Yes, let's. Tell me about Graven Ash. Graven Ash is the general of the Disfavored, veteran of centuries of battle, and an Archon without peer. I would follow him to the void and back without question. Barrack swings his arm in salute. So he's really excited about Graven Ash. First you thought stab with a spear was a euphemism? Wow. Spear was the favorite weapon of Odin. Those who died to it were guaranteed a spot in Valhalla. Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah. So if you wanted to be a real dick in those days, when one group of Vikings is fighting another, and you're using a spear, and you didn't like somebody, you could, like, drop your spear and kill him with a dagger or something instead. Just to, like, fuck up their chances of going to Valhalla. That would be a dick move. Alright, he swings his arm in salute. How did he come to serve Kairos? Before the uniting of the Northern Empire, Graven Ash served as a warlord in the service of one of the local kings that defied Kairos' rule. Credible as it may seem, Ashe stood against Kairos' rule. Though his army was dismantled by Kairos' overwhelming numbers, Ashe's forces performed admirably. It was said that he and his troops claimed 77 lives for each of their own. Alright, that's gotta be inflated. Because if it's not, that's badass. If you've got a 77-to-1 kill-death ratio in your army, those are some bad motherfuckers. Other times they just render them immobile and leave them out in the elements to die. That's fucked. That's fucked. See, in my personal morality, killing somebody's not that bad. I'm really not that worked up over people killing each other. But I do really despise killing people in fucked up ways. If you want to end somebody's life, that's one thing. Here we go, kids show, hashtag kids show. Listen, kids, if you want to end somebody's life, that's fine. I'm sure you have a good reason for it. Go ahead. But don't do it in a fucked up way. Don't torture somebody to death. Don't force them to live out some lengthy suffering before they die. Just kill them quick and as painless as you can make it. I mean, given whatever tools you have at your disposal. And get it over with. And let them go on and have their rest and their peace. Don't be a dick about it. If you're gonna kill somebody, don't be a dick about it. This has been Josiah's Kids Show. 77 lives for each of their own. Kairos took an interest in the military genius that bloodied his army. Raven Ashe was summoned to a conclave of Archons, and though he was sent in chains, he left as an Archon, having been granted a position of power in Kairos' great host of war. Thus the disfavored were born. All of us today trace our line back to those warriors that impressed Kairos with their will and tenacity. The only difference is how we fight is now we fight on the winning side. Though the general seldom speaks of it, I know that Ashe humbled himself in order to spare his troops the brunt of Kairos' punishment. His loyalty to the old blood of the North is beyond question. He made the right choice to save his troops. And he would make it again to save any of us. There has never been a more devoted and attentive leader. Barrack makes a proud fist and steps to a salute with the forceful clatter of pots and pans. Guy smells like shit and he sounds like pots and pans walking around. It pains how romanticized that Coastal Raider scum is in pop culture. Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, it's definitely romanticized. But in reality, I know that the Vikings were absolute fucking dickholes that were a scourge upon society. But, you know, if you're gonna have epic stories, tales of adventure, then they sound really fucking cool, you know? Yeah, they were warriors, and they had a warrior culture, and they had all this cool mythology and this cool folklore and stuff. Yeah, that's badass. They're really metal. But of course, you know, if you actually went back in time to that time period and met those people, you would not like them. You would not think they were cool. They would probably do terrible things to you. Of course, that's true of most groups. Most militant groups in the whole history of humanity have pretty much been giant dickholes until maybe recent times. Maybe nowadays all the military people aren't giant dickholes. But I mean, they certainly used to be throughout basically every culture. Alright, so forceful clatter of pots and pans. What else do you know about his past? What else do you know of his past? I follow him into battle. I am not his personal scribe. And if I did know more of him, it would not be my place to say. Barrack takes a half step back, folding his arms across his chest. Fine, get all but jiggity about it. How about that? As an Archon, what magic does he wield? Now this I want to know. Other than his healing aura thing. You're referencing that one movie, The 13th Warrior, or whatever it was called. I don't remember the exact name, but it was something like that. Ashe works his magic through us, his soldiers. When we do battle, Ashe seems to know the events even before our runners have given word. Most importantly, though, he protects us. It's a bit tricky to explain unless you've experienced it. Or the Last Warrior, or something like that. Can't remember what it's called. Right, so he protects you and he heals you. Got it. I can think of countless times I have been struck by a spear. Oh, straight to Valhalla. Or hit with an axe. And even run through with an arrow. And in each of those moments, the pain and injury just cease to be. Vikings are certainly close to the top in the Rape and Enslavement Olympics. I don't know, that's a tough contest. Rape and enslavement was pretty much just the thing that human beings do almost everywhere in the world for a very long time, so I don't know if they could have done that much more rape and enslavement than everyone else. None of us know how he does it, or how he can sense that we're in danger and intervene from afar, but I suppose that's why he's an Archon. What he does probably wouldn't make sense to someone like me. 13th Warrior, yeah. I saw that a long time ago. I don't hardly remember it, though. I already know how he's going to answer this, but let's ask him anyway. How do you feel about Graven Ash? How do I feel about him? Archon Ash is the bravest, warmest, most compassionate general who ever lived. He's a living icon of leadership and courage. So you like him, then? Beric tilts his head slightly to the side, as far as the suit's limited range of motion permits. Ash is a soldier, but he doesn't kill for sport. A leader, but he doesn't issue commands to hear himself talk. He demands discipline and sober conduct of his troops, and I applaud such standards. He's also kind of a dick, though. Back to my questions about the disfavored. Go on, I'm listening. Why didn't the Legion prevent the uprising of Vendrian's Well? Let me guess, in before he blames it on the Scarlet Chorus. Yeah, I think that's a question you ought to ask of the Scarlet Chorus. They too were charged with ensuring the locals remained vanquished and unarmed. Beric lurches forward as he speaks, iron plates grinding under his motion. Yeah, but exactly. Number one is what I'm thinking. The disfavored are the elite. The duty was theirs to fail. But I'm going to be diplomatic and manipulative here and not say what I'm thinking. Vendrian Guard are the only guilty party. If the chorus had conscripted more aggressively, perhaps there would not have been an uprising. Beric's going to like that. Now I'm at loyalty 3 with him. Agreed. We have never relied upon the Scarlet Chorus to win victories, only to recruit in number and secure our holdings. They were asleep on the watch. The Vendrian Guard should have been slaves of the Chorus, not free men and women allowed to plot and conspire. Yeah, fuck having people be free. His favorite should just call Ash Daddy. Yay for manipulation of your friends and allies. Well, in fairness, we're all evil fuckers in an evil army. Do any of us really have friends at this point? Back to my previous questions. By all means, Fatebinder. Yeah, I assume I said that quietly so Verse didn't... While she's like scouting or something. Oh yeah, Scarlet Chorus sucks. And then I'm talking to Verse. Oh yeah, disfavored sucks. I have some questions about the Scarlet Chorus. I'm sure he's gonna have nothing but glowing things to say here. Our allies do not share the disfavored sense of honor and discipline. In other words, they're not lawful evil like us, they're chaotic evil. Lawful evil and chaotic evil always hate each other more than any other two alignments. Hey Verse, I saw a cow over there. The Chorus will trust any criminal, rapist, or half-wit with a truncheon or blade. What would you like to know about the Scarlet Chorus? How do you think the Scarlet Chorus convinced so many Tearsmen to join? It began with Siren. She had a song that got whole villages marching to her will. And once these peasants killed their neighbors or cousins in service of the voices, it either hardened them into warriors or broke their mind for servitude. That does sound like a good system. Lots of criminals and drifters joined the chorus too. Those are my people. It seems like the scum of the tiers just need the promise of glory and sanctioned debauchery to turn on their neighbors. That's two words I haven't seen used together before. Sanctioned debauchery. That sounds like the name of a band or something. Or a guild. This favorite was solely drawn from upstanding community leaders. Yeah, exactly. It's not pretty, and it shouldn't be. The chorus is a forge. All the dirt of the tiers goes in, and the finest bits are refined into weapons. So sometimes Verse just jumps in while I'm talking to him. There are many that join the Scarlet Chorus because they wish to join the winning side. It's a shame that such patriots were not born to proper northern stock. Too weak or too slight to be disfavored. Oh, here we go with the fucking racism again. The Scarlet Chorus is their best freedom from fealty to the younger realms. Not everyone has the fortune of gaining Tunon's favor. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Better that the Tearsmen serve Kairos than rot in mass graves. I do agree with that. His favorite turn away people of tears, that seems selective to the point of foolishness. I agree with that in character, but I'm not going to say it because I'm a manipulator. The Tearsman would only be a weak link in the disfavored shield wall. Now that's the really manipulating thing to say. So I'm going to say it. What are the Younger Realms? The Younger Realms are just all of the areas of the tiers. Azure, Stalwart, Haven, whatever, the names of the 3 or 4 or 5 different, I think there's like 5 of them, different sections of the tiers are called the Younger Realms. The Tearsman would only be a weak link in the disfavored shield wall, she said. Not very honestly. Yes! The North is our shared link, our consistency. How could I trust a woman or man to hold the shield wall if I don't understand their customs? What? Why do you have to understand their customs to learn how to fight with them in a shield wall? During the middle of battle, do you guys stop and discuss customs? I mean, sure, maybe understanding each other's customs would be beneficial to unit cohesion in a sense, but I would think you could learn to fight with people in an organized way without understanding their customs. What can you tell me of their troops and tactics? Tactics? These are the first I've heard of them. Nice. The chorus is more of an irregular mob than a proper army. Still, it's a well-armed mob, and they even have a few proper warriors and magicians in their pitiful excuse for ranks. If the chorus is a mob, how is it led and supplied? The Voices of Narat gives orders to his elite commanders, who in turn send instructions out to the gang captains. But beneath that hierarchy, it is chaos. Is Apex a Yandir realm? A younger realm? Yes, Apex is one of the younger realms. Whole gangs will break from the larger force and disperse back into their homelands. The chorus is inefficient beyond words, and yet more bodies keep coming in to replace those lost in the mess. Inefficient? Every weakling lost in the shuffle is one less burden to those in the choir still dancing to the song of battle. Our ways must be harsh, otherwise the stupid and the soft will inherit the chant. Yeah, the chorus are all about the survival of the fittest kind of social Darwinism thing. Hardcore. They're fucking edgelords. They're all edgelords. It's called Unity, try Crusader Kings to understand. I've never played that. I've heard lots of good things about it. Because you're such a skilled leader and manipulator that you can string along these different party members by making them believe what you want. I know a thing or two about that. Listen, kids. If you're ever in a situation, here's my kids show again, where you're in a situation with a lot of different groups of people that are at odds with each other, or that have varying worldviews or ways of life, and there's a lot of separation between them, and you want to do the best in that situation, don't pick a side. Play all the sides, and become this sort of neutral operator that fits in with every group, but doesn't cause the groups to believe that you're actually a member of the other sides. You know, just tell them all what they want to hear. This has been Josiah's Kids Show. Remember, in many cases, it's best for people for you to lie to them. Kids. Barrack and Verse kill each other. We're gonna send you in to deal with the Bloods and the Crips. I would maybe do okay with that, actually. I have some experience with that sort of thing from when I was in prison. I was on top of shit when I was in prison. I got along with everybody, and I was able to hang out with and deal with every group of people in there without pissing off any of the others. I had sort of a very special neutral status. I was a straight up prison diplomat, I was. It was pretty good. Chorus has a lot of mouths to feed, so the conscripts that can't or won't fight are made to gather food and water. Else, I'm told, they're fed to the pigs, becoming food and water in a sense. Barrack shrugs. Oh wow, they feed the people to the pigs that don't get it done. Incite conflict between those groups so they weaken and desire to support more. No, that's too Machiavellian and evil for me. I didn't find that to be a good solution. Making peace between them always seemed better. Because if you do that, what you said, Anonymous, people recognize that you're doing it, eventually. And then they think of you as shady and slimy, and they distrust you, and they feel like you've betrayed them, and then they hate you. Then everybody ends up hating you. Whereas if you make peace between groups, then everyone sort of comes to revere you instead. It's my experience. I mean, I guess maybe if you were really, really good at it, and you could manage to incite those conflicts without anybody ever realizing that you were doing it, maybe that would work, but I never tried to go that route myself. No, I do not chat with those were the biggest assholes in prison, the Aryan Brotherhood guys. The fucking white supremacists are by far the biggest assholes. Everyone else in prison is pretty cool, unless you give them a reason not to be. The Aryan Brotherhood guys, though, go out of their way to be dicks. Now, the ones I knew, a lot of them were actually perfectly reasonable guys, other than their extreme racism and hate. And because I happened to be white, they didn't have extreme racism and hate towards me, so a lot of those guys treated me pretty well. I mean, I had cellies that were white supremacists. I did, you know, I hung out, I played games, I ate with some of them sometimes, and they were cool with me. Even though a lot of times I hung out with black guys, or a lot of times I hung out with the Mexicans, they didn't mind because of the way that I was. I was kind of an exception to the rule. I was able to sort of deal with everybody and not get shit on because of it. Which was pretty cool. So they were basically cool to me, but man, those guys were assholes. I mean, racism is just incredibly stupid. I mean, if you haven't really seen, like, real serious racism before, or really had the conversations with serious racists where they try to justify all of it and explain why they're racist and why it's logical and why it's scientific, for fuck's sake. They think this shit is scientific. That these other races are literally inherently inferior to them and thus deserve to be treated worse and not have rights and stuff. Unless you've actually had those conversations with those guys, it's hard to understand just how stupid racism actually is. But it is. It's just absolute ridiculous delusion. And they cling to these ideas because that's what they've been taught. And that's what they believe is their reality. It's just like religious fanatics. You know, that have kooky religious beliefs, and nothing you can say to them will change their mind. That's exactly... Fucking white supremacy is just a kooky religion, is all it really is, if you think about it. But I don't actually still chat with anybody from prison, actually. Anyway, let's move on with this conversation here. I'm getting into a lot of tangents at this point. Aaron Brother guys refuse to multi-class when playing D&D. They refuse to play anything but humans. Fuck those elves and dwarves. Fucking mongrel races. Alright. Becoming food and water. A fine contrast to the honor, efficiency, and decency of the disfavored. The Legion demands courage and tenacity, but provides us with good iron, and does not leave its soldiers to forage like vultures. Alright, yeah, I'm sure the conditions for the soldiers are definitely better in the disfavored. I mean, that I wouldn't argue with. Worst racist you know is a biochem PhD who works in some fancy Switzerland lab now. A few more years and that generation eats the dust. Hey, Bacons and Eggs, how you doing? Good to see you, Bacons and Eggs. What's up? I like how it's bacons and eggs, not just bacon and egg. You ain't got time for one bacon. You're fucking multiple bacons up in here. And you're fucking proud of it, aren't you? That's cool. I salute you, multiple bacons. Alright, doesn't leave its soldiers to forage like vultures. What do you know of their warriors? Most chorus rats are untrained peasants, handed a knife or a pitchfork. It doesn't take much to qualify you for the front lines. One only needs a beating heart, and even then, the chorus could make do. Of course, not everyone in the chorus is an infirm child or sickly old crone. Some ex-soldiers and madmen join. Madmen. Oh, I like the thought that madmen is like a rank, like when we were talking to Verse earlier, and she said it like as if it were a rank, basically. And the fighting elite of the chorus form a clique known as the Scarlet Furies. Verse jumps in. Barrack is too dismissive by far, but he's right that most recruits are novices pressed into service. Most will not survive the first few battles. Those who live will have experience to lead, and those who fall can easily be replaced. Well, there's the social Darwinism again. What sort of magic does the chorus use? The blood chanters are the mages who follow the voices of Nerat. Like the chorus itself, their order is not steeped in tradition and antiquity, rather built on knowledge stolen from other guilds. Here we go, you even gotta disparage their mages. Well, not everybody that's a racist is the lowlife, certainly. A lot of racists are very intelligent people, very accomplished people. They might even be compassionate in their own limited way. They could be nice people. Even some of the racist guys that I knew in there, at least to me, were perfectly nice, reasonable guys other than their racism. If you removed their racism, everything else about them was intelligent and reasonable and nice even. But in that one particular aspect of their philosophy, they're fucking backwards and primitive. Yeah, and I think that those people are sort of going away more and more as the generations go by, but I think it's going to be more than a few more years before they're all gone. I think it's going to be quite a few years. Their fire magic earns them a place on the battlefield, but they also have chants that stir the mind and the heart. The motherless sods have spells that can bolster a man's courage or tap into his fears. Oh no, not bolstering a man's courage. What kind of motherless sods would do that? Wondered if it would help if we stopped calling it racism and started calling it ethnicism. I don't think that would actually have any meaningful impact on it. It would be more accurate. Yeah, it's a little harder to say. And if you started calling it that, people would be like, what the fuck is that? I've never heard of ethnicism. And everybody understands what racism is, basically. Back to my previous questions about the Scarlet Chorus. Back to my previous questions about the Scarlet Chorus. By all means. What do you know of the Voices of Nerat? I like the Voices of Nerat. The Archon of Secrets? All I know are rumors, hearsay, speculation. But that's as much as anyone knows of the Voices. I feel like race and ethnicity are used interchangeably by normal people when talking about humans. I mean, we don't use race for anything else than ethnicity. It's not like there are other races, like in a D&D setting, where there are entire other species of intelligent people. We don't call any animals another race. We call them, you know, other species. But nobody's like, I hate the chipmunk race, right? So generally when people say race, they just mean ethnicity. Rumors, hearsay, and speculation. Some accounts tell that he's actually dead, and the Overlord has trapped the minds of his foes in the same body to torture them all. As likely an explanation as any I've heard. In truth, I know little of the Voices, and have reason to suspect almost anything about him could be true. You could tell me his tears turned cheese back into milk, and it would seem more sensible to believe you than not. That would be awesome. Little known powers of the Voices of Nerat. Tears turn cheese back into milk. That's pretty great. I heard his tears can turn cheese into milk. Barrack likes that. That's very amusing, Fatebinder. Do you know anything of his powers? I am no scholar of sorcery, but as I understand it, the Voices of Nerat is a thief of minds. They say he can swipe your thoughts and make them his own. I don't know how it works. When I recruited into the disfavored, the Iron Marshal told me never to take an audience with the Voices if I didn't have a witness on hand. Yeah, because a witness would stop him. If he wanted to steal your mind, I think he'd steal your mind even if there was a witness. He'd steal the witness's mind too. Fuck it. And then he'd turn some cheese into milk. Do you think him disloyal? I really shouldn't comment on such matters. Barrack looks ahead blankly and then clears his throat. So that's a yes, you think he's disloyal. What do you know of his associate, the Archon Siren? Siren is the Archon of Song, and one of the youngest of her rank. She can influence human emotion with her voice alone. The Voices may be the conductor of the chorus, but I'd argue Siren is their best weapon. The Voices put her talent to good use. He had her singing a song up and down the coast, and the Tearsmen defected to the chorus in droves. Back to my questions about the Scarlet Chorus. By all means. Actually, enough about the Scarlet Chorus.
Good. Let's move on to another matter.
What can you tell me of the Tears? Uphill both ways and full of dumb sods. I learned some history in training, and I've been here for a few years, but I'm no expert. What is your assessment of the local forces? There was a time early in the war when I would have feared the younger realms working together. Imagine that! He chuckles. Moved away from mankind to humanity. Yeah. Well, mankind sounds exclusionary to women, whereas humanity, I guess, doesn't. Most races don't differentiate between ethnicities. Recognize race as meaning not human. But in my opinion, Saito, the only context in which I've ever seen race mean not human is in D&D, or like a fantasy role-playing game. That's the only time. Any other time, I've never seen race used for not human. It's always just been species, and race has always just meant which ethnicity of human you are. I can't think of a single other context in which people use race to mean not human. But yeah, the notion that a given ethnicity is not or less than human, yeah, that's true, of course. Species, or ethnicism. That's a tough word to say. You imagine that, he would have feared the younger realms working together. Once I saw the modest scope of their defenses, I knew they would be easily outclassed. They couldn't even rally their best to make a competent stand. Tell me of the Vendrian Guard. They used to be the Queen's Royal Army of Vendrian. I guess defeat inclined them to a shorter name. We crushed them back in 429. I'm proud to say I took part in the decisive battle. You know the rest. A year after we thought them conquered, thousands of Vendrian Oathbreakers murdered the garrison and declared themselves free of the Overlord's rule. One of the reasons why biology is not a real science. What? Biology is not a real science. What? Now you're reaching. Humans are members of a single race. Homo sapiens sapiens. Well, others are members of a single species. I don't know, it's complicated. I mean, the word basically means two different things. Sure, maybe if we didn't use race in that way, it would subtly alter people's perceptions. But I think it would be a very difficult thing to do, to change it around so that everyone was using ethnicism instead of racism. I mean, I don't even know if you could accomplish that. Anyway, they declared themselves free of the Overlord's rule. Tell me about the Unbroken. Wait, what are the Unbroken? The Unbroken Legion was the proud and accomplished army of the realm of Stalwart. Citing their victories as evidence of skill, they prided themselves on never facing defeat while fighting on home soil. After the Edict of Storms tore apart Stalwart and twisted it into the Blade Grave, barely a 20th of the Unbroken's former strength survived to continue the war against Kairos' forces. So that's who the Unbroken are. The Unbroken Union of Stalwart. May they rot in the decrepitude of their fallen realm. Beric squeezes his gauntlet into a hard fist. Well, tell me how you really feel. Maybe you need to pound it against the ground, Beric. Much as it pains me to admit it, in all the realms of the tiers, the Unbroken have been the only foe worthy to meet the disfavored in battle. The Unbroken value tradition, just as we do. Stalwart has never lost a war on their own soil, a reputation they take quite seriously. It is fortunate that Stalwart has poor relations with all its neighbors. The rest of the tiers will not come to their aid, so as bravely as they fight, their end is inevitable. Who's the Bronze Brotherhood? We're learning about new factions right now. The Bronze Brotherhood is a mercenary company from the free cities dotting the tier's southern coast. Many of these mercenary companies were employed by Kairos' agents and slaughtered during the war. The Bronze Brotherhood survived thanks to their relatively safe posting at Lethian's Crossing, where the Voices of Nerat hired the company to help protect the town's forge operation. Among the most trained and dedicated warriors of the tiers, the Bronze Brotherhood have a reputation for ruthlessness and tenacity. Aggression and decisive thinking are so highly prized by the Brotherhood that the violent, enigmatic Scourge is the group's mascot, a creature most decent folk consider the stuff of nightmares. The term brother is used for mercenaries of both genders, as the company's title harkens back to the archaic notion of living as men. In Tyr's custom, this amounts to releasing all claims to lands. To better assure an employer that the Brotherhood won't covet the realms they're paid to protect. Alright, so they forsake the idea of owning property. That's why they're the Brotherhood. Alright, so they're mercenaries. They're the Black Company. What, Homo sapiens what? Idaitu? What the hell is that? What can you tell me of the Bronze Brotherhood? Mercenaries from the free cities. The chorus needed extra muscle, and you could always mint new rings. Hard to believe the tiersmen turned on each other for mere loops of metal. The Bronze Brotherhood worshipped the Scourges. Yes, those monsters from the Old Walls. The The mercenaries are grown adults that willingly admire a magical abomination. Read into that what you will. That said, it should surprise no one that the Bronze Brotherhood eventually wanted more than just rings and turned on their contract. Kairos now considers them an enemy, which is for the best. The Overlord needs a better class of combatants. And let me guess, that's your class of combatants. Hyperbole is being said in my chat, apparently. Nazis have been invoked. Oh god, Godwin's Law. Back to my previous questions.
Go on, Fatebinder.
Well, I wanna know something. Tell me about... Oh, reputation ability unlocked. Barrack loyalty ability Iron Storm. Oh, it's another combo ability between Seraphina and Barrack. Swords and javelins emerge from Barrack's armor and fly into a cloud of iron above the Fatebinder. Wow, that's badass. These weapons begin to rain down in a storm around the Fatebinder, damaging enemies nearby. Okay. That sounds cool. Iron Storm. Barrack likes a good joke. He liked my noble ways. At this point, I have too many things for my bar. Too many things. Soakstone. Iron Tolling. Iron Storm. Blood Soakstone and Death from Above. Man, I wish I had more than just this one bar, because I can tell right now, with all the spells I'm gonna get, and all the combo abilities I'm gonna get, I'm gonna not be able to put nearly as many things on this bar as I want to. I mean, you don't need to have them on the bar. In combat, you can just pause, go right here, and cast them from these things. But I'd certainly rather have them on the bar. Alright, let's go back to talking to Barrack. I've been talking to Barrack for a very long time. Probably just because I've been digressing so much and talking about other things. Which is my bad. If anybody's watching, sorry about that. Okay, so let's go back to talking to Barrack, though. For reals. Oh yeah, now he's got Iron Tolling and Iron Storm. B and T, G and V. Alright.
Don't we have a war to
Homo
fight?
sapiens idatu, they were a subspecies of Homo sapiens native to Ethiopia. Huh. Okay.
My Lord Binder, you have something which requires my attention?
Oh, he greeted me differently because my loyalty's up to 3. Wow, it's up to 4. Barrack loves me. Barrack salutes as he turns to greet you.
What can I do for you?
We're gonna go back into these questions. What do you know of the Younger Realms? Before we marched on the Bastard Tier, I recall Graven Ash giving us a speech as we stood assembled at Fort Resolution. He told us that the Younger Realms lacked the sense to make a stand against us. I don't think I need to point out that the average Tiersman is just plainly inferior to the sons and daughters of the North. Yeah, you don't need to point that out because it's not true. For every one of ours they kill, we must drag 1.5 scores bleeding into the soil with us. Okay, you're so proud of yourself because your army has the best equipment in the world, and you have a constant healing aura from your magical boss, and you think that makes you better than them. Cut the games. And you probably have much more training than them, but that doesn't make you inherently better from birth. It didn't help that they're afraid of magic and relied on their battlefield prowess to stage a defense. What do you know of the Beastmen? I'm curious about the Beastmen. Oh wait, I know what I was going to look up. That's the reason I stopped the thing in the first place. I wanted to look at something. I wanted to look at Scourge. What do we know about Scourges? Because that was mentioned in the... The most common and aggressive form of Bane is the Scourge. These vicious creatures travel in swarms, surrounding their prey with whirlwinds of tearing claws. Entire villages have been wiped out by a single pack of Scourge. Okay. Aggressive form of Bane is the Scourge. What's a Bane? Very little is known about the Bane. They are savage, vicious creatures that attack humans and beasts on sight. While normal humans can sometimes escape a Bane attack, they will pursue a mage or a beast to the edges of Tyranny. Wow, so they'll really chase you for a long time if you're a mage. So they hate magic. Or they eat magic or something. Sages who have studied the Bane believe that they are creatures of magic. Whether they occur naturally or are created, no one knows. Some sages speculate that the various forms of Bane are at different stages of a life cycle, with the Bane becoming more complex and powerful as it ages. No one knows why Bane are attracted to the old walls, but everyone knows that traveling near those towering structures guarantees a Bane attack. Alright, tell me about the old walls. Constructed by the same civilization that built the spires, the old walls are massive stone walls that stretch across all of Tyranny. Built from weathered stone, the old walls tower above the land, visible for miles in every direction. Only the spires reach taller than the old walls. By Kairos' law, the old walls are forbidden, so no going in the old walls. It is a tricky issue. One can have prejudices about populations regardless of the phenotypes. Yeah, well, of course that's true. Where there are old walls, there are Bane. No one knows why the magical creatures are attracted to the old walls, but every traveler who strays too near the walls is attacked. Very few who have attempted to enter the old walls ever return alive. So these kind of sound like the Fae from Masquerada. And the old Dementicate ruins. And maybe these are the old souls of the old people that made the old walls and the spires. What does it say about the spires? Every man, woman, and child on Tyranny can point to the nearest spire as it towers above the horizon. From the images and symbols engraved on the surface of each spire, it is clear that these structures were created by man. No one now alive knows who created them or what feats of magic allowed them to rise so high into the air. Spires are often found near or connected to the old walls. As such, many cultures view them as signs of ill fortune. Given their immense height, the spires make excellent navigational aids for land and sea travel. Merchants will often trade directions that use spires as guides rather than relying on maps or trails. Many mages believe that their powers intensify when they are near a spire. And we know that we're near a spire, obviously. This right here is a big spire. And if you look at the map, you see lots of spires around. And these are the old walls, these big walls that are on the map. And each of them has a spire at somewhere along its length. And I know that you can go and take over these spires in the game, and they basically form your stronghold for this game. And the more spires you go and gain control of, the more upgrades and cool stuff you can build. With your various spires. And you can apparently travel instantaneously from one spire to another once you control them. That's the things they said in the little dev video about the spires. See, right here is the spire section on my UI, but I can't click on it yet because I don't own a spire yet. Yeah, I wish games would stop using the old, there was a bunch of way more cool guys a long time ago. That's what I'm saying. That's such a trope in, like, every friggin' game, practically. And book, and movie, of a fantasy, or sci-fi. Even in sci-fi, they do it a lot. Not always in, like, hard sci-fi, but in more space opera type sci-fi, they do. Spire mechanic sounds super cool. Yeah, it looks really cool. From the little stream I saw where they showed off the spire mechanics, it looked really cool. It looked way cooler than the stronghold in Pillars of Eternity. Way cooler. Okay, so we're gonna keep talking to Barrick.
My Lord Binder, what can I do for you?
The tears... Alright, we're gonna ask him about the Beastmen. But... Hold on, before I ask him about the Beastmen... Wait. I want to read about the Beastmen in here first. So I have a context for what he's saying. What do we know about the Beastmen? Apparently nothing. Beastmen don't even show up in the lore. Okay. Well. There you have it then. So in our next episode, we will talk to Barrick again. We will ask him about Beastmen. We will ask him about these other two things. And we'll go on from there. But, thank you for watching. If you are watching on the stream, don't worry, I am not stopping. I am, in fact, going to continue playing for another 10 hours or so, as I do my 24-hour stream. But, if you're watching on YouTube, that is going to be the end of this episode. So thanks for watching. This has been Josiah Plays Tyranny.